Can you speak to just the practical nature of sitting there from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
I'm like, what the hell are you doing, bro?
What's powerful? What's fascinating to you? What have you learned from just the experience of staring at a wall?
Yeah. So, it's not really, I mean, you're facing a wall, and what you're doing is you're just sitting with, there's different meditative practices, right? There's counting breaths. So that's usually what I do. I sit down and I start counting breaths. And for the first half hour, it's just like blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, like I said, I'm thinking about my taxes. I'm thinking about what I got to do later on, yada, yada, yada. First time I ever did a full session, a 2-day session, I swear to God, I had Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run album track through from the beginning to the end with the pauses. This was back when there were LPs.
Yeah.
With the freaking
Nice.
pauses. Because my mind was just like, I need to do something. So it literally played the whole album in order.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing to see, because you really do. You see the dynamics of your mind. But what happens is, and this took me a while. I used to hate sitting. I do it, but after a while, the mind gets exhausted. Like that part of the mind, the upper level, the roof brain chatter is just like there's nothing else to do. And then you get bored. And I realize that's when something interesting is going to happen, because you kind of like drop down. And now it's a very physical practice. People think you're just sitting there not thinking or thinking about not thinking. Actually, it becomes a very physical process where you're really just following the breath. You're kind of riding the breath, and it gets very quiet, and within that quietness, it's, there's a path, because obviously Buddhism is always like, not about thinking, but there's a huge literature. So these guys are always about don't think. I've written all this stuff, but they're guideposts. They're like the finger pointing at the moon. And, there's the idea first, your mind is usually scattered, right? Like, right now when I walk out, I'm going to go get the Uber and everything. My mind's going to be all over the place. But with sitting, first you concentrate the mind so that there's no more scatter anymore. The thoughts are still happening, but you're just not, they're happening up there. You're not even paying attention to them. And then as time goes on, you unify the mind, which is this very powerful thing where kind of the self drops away, and there's just this presence. It's kind of like a raw presence. And that's often where the joy upwells from. But you sit with whatever. Maybe you're going to sit and you're going to have maybe you're going to go through like an hour of being bummed out about your mom who died or something. You're just going to sit with whatever comes up. You're going to make that's why the sitting part, you're making the commitment. I'm going to sit here with whatever comes up. I will not be moved. And then what you come away with, it actually over time, it actually changes kind of who you are. Like I'm still the asshole I was from New Jersey growing up, but I just have more space now for things,
Yeah. Once Jersey, always Jersey.
Always Jersey.
But I love the Bruce Springsteen just blasting in your head.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Why are we here? What do you think is the purpose, the meaning of human existence?
It's good that we just had the last conversation, because I'm going to give this answer, which is so corny. It's love. And I'm not messing around, because really, actually, what happens, so within Buddhism, there's the idea of the bodhisattva principle. You're here to help. You're just here to help, right? Compassion. Like that's a really essential part of this path, of the Dharma path. And when I first started, I was like, I don't care about compassion. I'm here for knowledge, right? I'm here. I started contemplative practice because of the usual thing. I was suffering. I had, the reason everybody comes to things like this. Life was hard. I was going through stuff. But I also wanted knowledge. I wanted to understand the foundational nature of reality. So it was like compassion, whatever. But then I found out that you can't get that. You can't go to this level without compassion. Somehow in this process, you realize that it really is about helping all sentient beings. That's the way they frame, just being here to help. So I know that sounds cornball, but especially for a guy from Jersey, which is like, the main thing is to get over. Like your job is to get over. But that's really what I found. It is actually kind of, and that's what some of that joy is just, it's like this. One of the things I have when I have like really, there's a kind of experience I'll have in contemplative practice, which will carry out into the world, which is just this gratitude for the fact that the world gives you everything. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain way, right? Just the blue sky and the breath. The world is just giving you itself completely unhindered. It holds nothing back. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the experience. And then you kind of like, oh, I need to be helpful, because who's not having this experience,
So just love for the world as it is.
Love for and all the beings who are suffering. Everybody's suffering. Your worst political opponent, they're suffering, and our job is just to try and drop our biases and our stories and see this fundamental level at which life is occurring.
And hopefully there's many alien civilizations out there going through the same journey out of suffering towards love.
Yeah, that may be a universal thing about what it means to be alive.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Either that or they're coming to eat us.
Especially if they're a type 3 civilization.
Yeah, that's right. And they got really big guns.
Well, this was a truly mind-blowing, fascinating, just awesome conversation, Adam. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for talking today.
Oh, thank you. This was a lot of fun.